Everyone, welcome to another motovlog on my channel. My name is Marshall3498, and on today's motovlog I'd like to talk about a new adventure bike that's really hot on the press right now and just coming to US and everybody's excited about, and that is the 2026 KLE 500. But I am not riding that bike. I'm riding a Honda 300LS. Just so we're clear, I'm not clickbait. This is just like a rolling podcast, nothing more, nothing less. And I think the new KLE 500 is, is a good first adventure bike for soft off-roading. The limited ground clearance, it's got a decent amount of spin travel, right at 8 inches front and rear. The seat height is a little high if you're not at least probably like my height, 5'11" or taller, because a lot of newer riders, they have this thing of wanting to get both feet flat on the ground. It's got a seat height of 34.2 inches, which is a little on the tall side, but the bike, supposedly, I've not sit on one or seen one in person. Need to, just to see what it's all about. No interest in buying one, but I do think it's an interesting bike. But it will attract a lot of new adventure riders and new riders in general, and that's a good thing. Price is really good, right at $7,000 US, but of course that's before taxes, dealer prep, freight, all that stuff. But it's literally just a couple $100 cheaper than the new gen KLR 650, the third gen, I do believe, which is odd, but it is quite a bit lighter, I do believe. I think the KLR is like 460, 470. It's like 432, I believe. Wet weight, fuel tank of fuel, ready to ride. So, it's probably, like I said, a good soft off-roader. It's for someone who just wants to maybe do a BDR, nothing more, at a slower pace, more beginner pace. And, I think Kawasaki, by using that, motor that's been tested from the Ninja 500, even though it's only 452 cc's, they're rounding up a lot, but a lot of manufacturers do that to some extent, so whatever. But I do think it's it's a good bike for the money. It's a good starter bike for people either starting out riding or starting out adventure riding, or both. And it's a decent price. Everything's expensive these days, especially in the US, and it's competitive in its class-ish, except for ground clearance, which is only actually like an inch and 3/4 less than Ibex 450. So it's whatever. But like the KTM 390 Adventure, it's like 35.5 inches seat height, and it's much more off-road capable with more ground clearance. But it's built in India. It's not Japanese. Some people love Japanese reliability, and there's a lot to say about that, I think, as far as the whole Japanese reliability thing. That's why I'm riding a Honda 300L Dual Sport instead of a KTM. I'll be honest, I had a KTM 890 and know people who like their KTM bikes, but I hated mine. It had lots of little electronic quirks, just like weird stuff, like a warning comes up and I'm like, why? And then it go away, and then that one cylinder start. I had a 2023 KTM 890. For fans of the channel know that. It was okay at first, but the one time I took it off-road riding, I'm like, okay, this bike's too expensive, too heavy, and too of me not know what I'm doing riding off-road. And not long after riding it off-road for the first time, granted, it would have helped with some little more aggressive tires than what it come with, which is a 70/30 tire at best. Pirelli Scorpion something, I can't remember the exact title off the top of my head. But a decent bike, but just too much for a beginner to do off-road riding with. If you use it as a touring bike, it'd be so-so, but off-road, too big, too heavy, too much stuff to learn. too much power, you know, to whiskey throttle, as they say, which does happen. You know, I've ridden this bike 200-300 miles on forest trail roads, which is not a lot, but I'm still kind of new. It's only my second year of it now. And you know, that does come into play. You know, you get bucked around in the seat, and if you don't pull in the clutch, or you know, don't have the right body position or hand position on the throttle, you know, even a slower bike like this will whiskey throttle in those situations if you're not careful. So you know, it's whatever. I think the KLE is going to do well for Kawasaki, and I hope it does. You know, Kawasaki's a well-known company who makes tons of stuff. I had two Kawasaki ATV foilers growing up, and I beat the absolute snot out of them, especially as like a 13-year-old. It was wide open, almost every gear, you know, typical preteen boy stage, you know. But, oh, sorry about that. Was watching a mail truck guy, made sure he see me. But you know, what's everybody's thoughts, opinions? Are they plan on getting one? Do they think the bike is not right for them? Would they rather have like a Himalayan 450 instead? Not a bad choice either. About the same price point, a little less power, about the same weight. Probably a better 50-50 bike, if I'm being honest, because you know where the Royal Himalayans are from. I myself, me personally, I've not ridden it yet, but a good friend of mine has not a KTM, Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, and he loves it. It's this little, you know, back road burner and off-road bike, and he's rode right in front of me or right beside me or right behind me multiple times and not had a bit of problem with it. But you know, he's a seasoned rider. So, you know, it's 100 pounds heavier than this bike, so he doesn't have any trouble. But with me, if I hopped on it, I might have a little more trouble, but you never know. I might try to ride his bike this summer coming up. But I just thought it was a good, interesting topic that everybody's talking about. I'd like to everybody's comments, thoughts, opinions, all that stuff on what they think about the new 2026 Kawasaki KLE 500. On that, guys, thanks for watching. Ride safe and have fun. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.